and we are holding Daf Kuf Amud Aleph. Let's bring up the page here. Okay. So we're middle of the Gemorah's explaining us the concept of an apikoros, person who's what we know as a heretic, a person who doesn't believe in Torah, and on higher, more refined levels. Okay, so the Gemara tells us that Levi, again, this is Daf Kuf Amud Aleph. So we have Levi bar Shmuel, son of Shmuel, and Rav Huna bar Chia, son of Chia. Avika misakni mitbechois sifrei devei Rav Yehuda. They were sort of say fixing or mending the mantles for the scrolls in the yeshiva of Rav Yehuda. So there are obviously different mantles for different scrolls. Kimetu Megillas Esther, yeah, very appropriate for this week. When they got to the mantle for the Megillas Esther, Amre, they said, Ha, meaning Megillas Esther, Laiboi mitpachas, doesn't require a mantle. So seemingly that was disrespect to the Megillah, or to the Chachamim who say that we should read the Megillah. So they said, just like that, it's also an expression of an apikoros to say that. Let's see how Rashi explains it. There's different explanations to what they said wrong. So it says, Kimatu Megillas Esther, Rashi says, L'saken mitbachas, to fix the mantle for the Megillah of Esther. Amrei, they said, Ha Megillas Esther loy by mitbachas, Megillas Esther doesn't require a mantle. Kolaimar Balashin Baya Amar Rabbi Yehuda Hai Vadi Leit Tzrich Mitpachas. They were saying it like this for surely doesn't need a mantle, meaning the Megillah. Kigayin Ha'acheres, like the other scrolls. Balashin Gnayu Dahavle Lemeimer LeRabin Balashin She'ela Kach Tzricha Oyen Tzricha. So where is that Bekarsis? So it's different opinions. Rashi seems to say that the Bekarsis was in how they asked for it. They shouldn't have stated a statement to their teacher. They should have asked, does it require or not, instead of talking with certainty. So it was the talking of certainty in front of their teacher that was an expression of disrespect. He says, the Marsha says, that maybe they held like the opinion that Megillas Esther is not, doesn't, we know that the Chachamim were saking, that if you touch Kisvei Kodesh, if you touch scrolls of holiness, your hands become tamei. There's a kind of a way of gzera to avoid people from touching things that are impure. So they said, as a precaution, that if you touch scrolls, your hands become impure. And why would it not make it impure? Because the Torah, there was no divine spirit that said they should write the Megillah. And therefore it doesn't need a mantle. The mantle is so we shouldn't touch the scroll and our hands should become impure. But because there is a disagreement, if Megillas Esther is written with Ruach HaKodesh or not, with the divine presence or not, so that itself is kind of just to talk certainty about the argument, as opposed to Marsha saying, opposed to asking their teacher. That also was a level of apikarsis of just saying it with certainty in front of their teacher. Other opinions again hold that there was the apikarsis. The heretic was that they were mezalzel in Megillas Esther, that they weren't talking with respect about Megillas Esther as if it wasn't one of the holy books. Okay, so he says, so they asked if this is something this could also be like apikorsis. So Reb Steinsaltz brings down, he says like this: some explain that irreverence was expressed in the absolute manner in certainty, in which he stated that they stated, which is scrolls of Esther does not require a mantle. He should have, or she, there's two people there, right? He should have phrased it as a question in difference to the sanctity of the book of the Bible. That's what the Ramah says. The issue is related to the Tanakh dispute whether the sanctity of the scroll of Esther equals the other books of the Bible, the Marsha. Okay, so there was different questions that he talked in certainty or disrespect. and that is itself a level of apikaris. So what we see over here, the level of apikaris is someone who is, it's not like, who runs around screaming there's no God, but it talks with disrespect to the Talmid Chachamim, like we learned before, that someone who speaks with disregard to Talmid Chachamim, to the scholars, is also a level of being an apikaris. So he says like this, Reb Nachman, the Gemara continues, Reb Nachman says that what is the apikaris? Hold on a second. What is apikaris? Zehakoy Rabbi Bishmai. It's someone who refers to their teacher. So if you refer to your teacher by name, that's disrespectful. So that's like an apikaris, and have respect. Why is it called an apikaris? It should be called lack of kavod. But the very fact that you would not respect your teacher, deeper issue that or that your teacher is teaching. If you of what makes your teacher your teacher, so then you would respect the teacher. So expression to disrespect to the teacher. That's internet. So if something is wrong with the internet, please let me know. Rav Nachman says, Rabbi Bishmar, someone who Rabbi Yochanan said, who was Gechazi? Was the servant attendant of Elisha, the prophet. Elisha, student of the prophet. So Gechazi was his famous shamish, who was a comedy character, and he ended up with leprosy. Talks about the leprosy, the 4 people, the lepers. That's Gechazi's sons. Why did he get leprosy? Because the Naaman, the general from the north, from Assyria, came to be cured from his leprosy by Elisha. When he was pure from the leprosy, didn't accept it because he was doing it as a miracle from God, not to pay. Gehazi was greedy, and he went back and he took the money. When he took the money, he got the leprosy. So the question is, what's the point? Because that was clear that he got the leprosy was because of the money. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on over here. The internet looks like the internet in the office went down for a second. Are you guys able to hear me? Barbara, you guys able to hear me?
Yes, Rabbi, I can hear you.
Okay, did the class go down for a second? Hold
I don't know.
on.
I just
Yes, it
joined.
did. Yeah, it went down, which is why I came back in.
Hold on. Let me see if I could switch it. Here we go.
It's fine now. I just came in. The president stopped his speech.
I'm glad I was up against good competition. Just trying to switch it back to the computer here.
So as of now, you come in nice and clear in a good video.
Okay, trying to
So are
bring it
you,
up.
Aaron?
Okay.
You sound really good, nice and clear.
Thank you.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I could get the page back up. Sorry about that, guys. Let me try this again. I think I'm gonna turn off the YouTube a second. sure why the computer's not connecting. Hold on. Sorry about this, guys. Let me just see how we could reconnect this.
Never knew what was above your head. Now I see.
Yeah, hold on a second. Computer's just not connecting here. Okay, do you guys hear me now?
Just as good as always.
Yes, I
Let
can
me-
hear you.
Okay, so let me.
Recording in progress.
Now I got. Do you guys hear me now? Here we go. Here we go.
Just as good as always.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry about that. Let me just turn this off. Okay.
Now your
Let's bring it back up to the page. No, you see me now?
Nope, but I hear now. I do.
All right, we're back. So we're holding. So what happened to Gehazi? This Gehazi didn't like us talking about him. So what happened to Gehazi? Gehazi was the servant of Shah, and he got. Hey, do you hear me now, Aaron? Still?
I hear you, but your screen sharing is still spinning.
The page
Now everything's good
Huh?
now. You're back to normal.
Okay. So he says like this. So Nachman says, Rabbi Bishmai, Rabbi Yochanan, why did Gehazi get punished? Rabbi Bishmai, he called his teacher by name. Gehazi, like he says, that he said, this is the woman, and that Elisha brought back to life. Story Elisha sent Gehazi to try to bring a child back to life. He didn't end up working, and Elisha tried to do it. So then they brought him back through Elisha himself had to bring him back. Hold on. It seems like the internet's jumping still a bit. Okay, so he says, so what do you do? He said, this is Elisha. He didn't say my. So here, the notes, Rabbi Steinzat says that the internet here. So the Rabbi Steinzat Gehazi. Who's Gehazi? So that the question is punished specifically for leprosy. Means he had leprosy. Why was this specific leprosy? This difficult as Gehazi became before he called his teacher by name. When he took payment from Naaman, was why the leprosy. So that shouldn't be a question of the Talmud. So he says, explain. Question is, why did he lose share in the world to come? It means he not only lose his share, not only did he get leprosy, but he also one of the people lost his share in the world. It was because he treated his teacher tempt. So there are others explain that the question, what reason was Gehazi not leprosy? Okay. It says, what does it mean to one who calls his teacher by name? So he says, prohibited for a student to call a teacher by name. If his teacher has a common name, it is even prohibited to call others by that name. The teacher has a regular name like Moses, your typical name. That's okay. But if you have a special name, teacher has something special about his name. So then you shouldn't even say that name. And he says, even if prohibited to call others by the permitted to refer to his teacher as my teacher so-and-so using name. Some say that it is prohibited to use his name in that formulation, to say my so-and-so. So that's also not accepted according to some opinions. Okay. Jeremiah. Sorry, I'm just going to ask Aaron, is the feed coming?
I can hear you.
Thank you, Bob. Yosef Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi
100%.
Yirmiyah was sitting Kamed Reb Zera in front of Reb Zera. Yosef Amar, and he said, Kadosh Baruch Hu lahaitzi beis kodesh kedashim. Okay, so the sign of disrespect. That what happened? That Rabbi in front of Reb Zera, he said, eventually, at one point, when Mashiach comes, that Kadosh Baruch Hu is in a river or a stream, the Holy of Holies, for all of all kind of delicacies, like special, kind of fruits. Shneimar Valna says that on the river, on the on either side of this Nacht River is going to be different trees with different kinds of fruit. It says neither shall its whose not wither, neither shall fruits fall. Means it's going to be trees. And it says, as there are waters in the sanctuary, therefore the waters of the trees came from the sanctuary. So therefore it's going to be trees that have fruits that stay, and the leaves stay on the trees. And you can be able to, and the leaves, l'trufa, seemingly as a medicine. Trufa is a medicine. We'll see in the so Yishar, when Reb Zera, this teaching that when Mashiach comes, for the third temple, from Holy of Holies, is going to go forth a river, and on either side of the banks of the river, there's going to and fruit and leaves on trees, and the fruits are going to be for good food, and the leaves are going to give medicine. So this old man, a Saba, was sitting there when he said this and said, Yishar, like Yashukach. And he also said, so Yishar. So the Rabbi asked to Reb Zera, maybe this is an apikoros for there's different explanations. Person said wrong, but let's just say take that the person kind of with what he said, a great sage, he didn't need Saba to concur. This was the meaning. Yes, Aaron.
You're a little chompy. You can understand your
chompy?
speech, but it's not perfect.
So then let's see if I'm going to just
Like
bring it
your
up on the
voice
other computer.
dips, and then you get a little choke, and then you miss half a second of your speech.
No problem. Just give me a second. Let me just to get rid of this issue. We're just going to switch the
Is it a
laptop.
computer
Yeah,
issue, or are they doing something to Israel?
No, no one's doing anything to Israel. It's a shabby combination of computer and
My computer will say I have a low bandwidth, and that's what
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
will
that's what
cause you to slow down.
it keeps them popping up. So
My computer, I'm on my phone, so my phone says I have full amounts of power for signal.
okay, hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. We're going to switch over. Let's see if this helps. I'm going to have such strong. Okay, let's bring up the.
That seems to sound good. Just leave it. Stop playing.
Okay.
It's not as loud, but it's beautiful. It's clear for now. No, now you're doing the screen sharing.
You got it? Okay.
No, or yeah, everything just seems to sound good. Just leave it. Stop playing.
No, I have to turn off other things. Hold on.
Okay, but I hear me.
Okay. Hold on, let's bring up this screen. Okay. All right. Let me know if the sound goes off. So we're holding. So what happened was he said that the river's going to go from the Holy of Holies, and it's going to give fruit, and leaves are going to give medicine. And he said Yasher Koach. So seemingly the Yasher Koach was that the Yasher Koach was kind of unnecessary to concur that his teaching is right. So let's see what Rashi says about the teaching. So Mayin Beis Hashem is going to go away from a spring, is going to go forth from the Holy of Holies. Yatz v'hashkes nachal hashitim. Like there's a verse that says in Yoel that he's going to yergrate the nachal shitim. Megadim is kol mini perishim tugim, all kind of fruit, sweet fruits. Yivakar b'chol chodesh v'chodesh is special kol peiros. There's going to be new fruits constantly. So what happened was he said that Mashiach comes is basically going to be a river that's going to give forth to fruits and leaves, etc., with the medicines and fruits for a good taste. So this Saba, this old man said, he called him Saba, Yasher Koach. V'chein Amar Rabbi Yochanan Kitvarachi. Rabbi Yochanan also says like what you said. Rabbi Yochanan Nami Hachi Kama. So Kida Amar Smar, like you said. V'legar Sinan V'chein Amar Rabbi Yochanan Yasher. That's what they also Rabbi Yochanan concurred, because Rabbi Yochanan is a teacher of Reb Zera. But that the old man said that Rabbi Yochanan also says such and such. So he says, so they ask, Ki hai gavne, if such a case is considered a person to be an apikairis. So Reb Steinzos explained, some explained that the irreverence was that the elder first stated the matter in his own name and only then cited Rabbi Yochanan rather than only citing his teacher. So he himself should have just said, Rabbi Yochanan says, like you said, or he shouldn't have commented at all, I guess. So he says, others, Rabbi Yirmiyah's statement is written especially in the verse that states, a spring emerged from the house of the Lord, and it is unclear what Rabbi Yirmiyah added. The question they're asking, what did Rabbi Yirmiyah say? It's a pasuk in Yoel. So the Mashal explains that he taught that these verses should not be understood as a parable or metaphor. Rather, they will be fulfilled according to their literal meaning, that there actually will be a river going out from the Holy of Holies and actually will give out for fruits and leaves. Okay. So Omerle, so again, there's different explanations what the trufa was, if the leaves themselves were medicines, or if the eating of the leaves gave medicines. We're going to see all about that in a little bit. So Amrle, so he asked if that's being a apikairis. So they responded, no. This is not considered an apikairis because they were just supporting you. They didn't say anything that's negative. But you want to hear an apikairis, they'll say another story. This is a very famous Gemorah. It's a hard Gemorah of a story. If you want to hear, I'll tell you. Hashemi Allah, I'll tell you. Ki hadi Yosef Rabbi Yochanan, B'Kadarish. Rabbi Yochanan was once sitting, and he was teaching. That what did he teach? He taught that Asa the Kadosh Baruch Hu lahavi avanim toivus u'margalias. Hashem is going to bring in the times of Mashiach great special stones like diamonds. Shehem shloishim amos. They're going to be the size of 30 arm lengths, about 45 feet by 45 feet. That's huge, right, for a diamond. And they're going to Berum Esrim. God is going to carve within them 10, so to say, 10 arm lengths wide and 20 arm lengths tall. And some understand this to mean he's going to put them at the entrances of Jerusalem, and that's going to be like the gates to go into Jerusalem, walking through, so to say, these carved out diamonds. Mamidim Mishar Yerushalayim, he's going to put them by the gates of Jerusalem. And what's the verse? The famous verse is from Shir Hashirim. It says, "V'samti kad koitz shimsei sayich usharayach la'avnei ektoch." That there's going to be, he says, and I will make your pinnacles of rubies and your gates of carbunacles. Avnei ektoch, like Rashi says, are special stones. He's going to carve out. So Ligleg Alav Oisei Talmud, a student heard him say this about these huge, precious stones, and he mocked his teacher. He said, "Is it possible? Hashta kebeisa the tzilsala le'mishkachin kuli hai mishkachin." This today you couldn't find a diamond the size of an egg of a palm dove, meaning that precious stones are tiny today. And you're saying they're going to be 30 arm lengths by 30 arm lengths, which is huge, right? To have huge diamonds, that doesn't make sense. So Rashi says, El ishamelach mina hashmelach kadkad even toiva v'kad shmoi. The kadkad is a special stone. Shimshoi sayich. So what is it? What's going to happen when Mashiach comes? Shimshoi sayich is chaloinis Hashem estorechas b'hem. It's going to be, he's going to carve out, God's going to carve out windows of these stones that you're going to be able to have sunlight. Shemesh u'magen and a shemesh mamish, the sun will come through actually. La'avni ektach shakadosh baruch hu choykikon ki b'mektach at shechoykik b'hem eser b'rum esrim. He's going to carve out entrances of 10 arm lengths wide on 20 arm lengths tall of these stones. So he says, the student, so to say, mocked Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, and that itself is an apokoros. An apokoros was the student who was mocking Rabbi Yochanan. And what is it? Silsila, it's an of katan. It's a small, he calls it a palm dove. So a palm dove is a small, small bird that has a small egg. And that's the size of it. Diamonds are small, right? He says it's the smallest species of pigeon or dove found in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, primarily in cities. Due to its small size, its eggs are also minuscule, approximately 24 millimeters in length and 20 millimeters in diameter. Obviously, not 30 arm lengths, and it serves as an archetypal of a small item. It's an idea of a small item. So basically, he was laughing to say that, or mocking to say that there's no such thing as such great stones. In Jerusalem, he says the precious stones. In Jerusalem's Talmud, it explains that Noah took these precious stones, the same stones that Rabbi Yochanan is referring to, in order to help him distinguish between day and night. As at night, the stones shone more brightly. So because at night, the darkness, I guess, brings out the shining, so he was able to use it for a light. And by day, they kind of dimmed. So I guess he's talking about these stones. All right. So this is the story of the apokoros. So the apokoros was the student who mocked Rabbi Yochanan. What's the end of the story of this student? Okay, we're not talking about any student, obviously. Why? Because we'll see in a second, he wasn't just a disrespectful student that was mocking Rabbi Yochanan. He was obviously a student himself on a high level. We know Rabbi Yochanan had Rabbi Yochanan is the author of the Jerusalem Talmud himself, and he had different rows. We know from the story of Rabbi Kahana, he had different rows of the students of what where you qualified, you sat in front of him. So it says the Yamim Hifliga Sfinase B'Yam. So this student was out at sea. It says his ship was at sea, or maybe he was on a ship at sea. Chazenu Lamalchi Asharis, and he saw the angels. That's what I'm saying. He wasn't just any student; he was a student that was able to see angels, right? They call Menasri Avonim Toivis Margalis, that they were cutting precious stones, huge precious stones, obviously. Amalu Hani Laman, he asked the angels, what are these for? So Amrei, they told him, Asir Kadosh Baruch Hu Lamidim Shari Shleim. This is like Rabbi Yochanan said. So Rabbi Yochanan said that Mashiach comes, they're going to place these huge stones in the gates of Jerusalem, and he saw the angels preparing these great stones for the gates of Jerusalem. Again, we're not talking about your typical student. He went back, and when he saw Rabbi Yochanan, the Yosef Kadosh, again, Rabbi Yochanan was teaching. Derush is like Medrash. It wasn't like he was just teaching the laws of Torah, because we know Rabbi Yochanan is, of course, one of the main teachers of the laws of Torah of Jerusalem, of the north. He sat in Tveria, but also that he was teaching drasha. Amrullah, he said, Rabbi Droish L'chana Lidroish. He says, Rabbi, please teach. You're a good darshaner, because now he saw that what he said before about the stones was accurate, because he himself witnessed it, the angels preparing these stones. He says, Keshem Shamar Tekach Risi, when you said last time, I saw it. So Amrullah, Rabbi Yochanan responded, we know in general, Rabbi Yochanan was able to be sharp. It had different situations with Reb Kana, with Rish Lakish. So Amrullah, he said, Reika, like you empty person. If not for the fact that you have saw it, that this is the case, by the angels doing what they did, you wouldn't believe it. You're a person who mocks the words of the rabbis. He looked at him and he turned into a heap of bones, meaning to say he died. The student died from the Peda, Rish Lakish, of Rabbi Yochanan. I just want to say that not Chas v'Shalom, but there's a story similar to that of Rav Kahana, right? Rav Kahana his composure of his face also would have on it a smile. That was just the way he was. And when he taught, he was asking all these questions of Rabbi Yochanan, and he was getting higher and higher up in the line of chairs, to be accepted in Rabbi Yochanan's yeshiva. And he had this smile on his face, and the smile was really just that's where his face was. And Rabbi Yochanan felt he was mocking him, and he looked at him, and he also died. I think either he was, I forget the end of the story, either he was Mechayim Eisim, either he came back alive, or I forget exactly what happened. But there's another story, of course, Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish also, he said something sharp to him, and Reish Lakish passed away. Reish Lakish was also his brother-in-law, and because Reish Lakish married Rabbi Yochanan's sister, and Rabbi Yochanan's sister was not really so forgiving. Later, her son, who was Reish Lakish's son, she said, "Stay away from your uncle. You don't want him to do to you what he did to your father." Either way, Rabbi Yochanan regretted it his whole life. But in this case, the student was really mocking him, and he turned into a heap of bones. Rashi says, "Gal sha'ot samis shemeis the adam shemeis nasa gal sha'ot samis." What does it mean? It's just an expression. He died, and like when a person dies, you become just bones. Let's see what Rabbi Steinzalt says. He says, "Milagleg al divrei chachamata." You're a person who mocks the rabbis. He says, the commentaries ask why the student was punished when he supported the statement of Rabbi Yochanan. He should have been punished not when he mocked him. So when Rabbi Yochanan first said his statement, he should have been punished then. Why did he only punish when he confirmed that he saw the stones, etc., from the angels? So one possibility is that Rabbi Yochanan was unaware that the student had not accepted his statement until he came and told him. That's what the Rishash says. Okay. Mace, we asked a question on this teaching of Rabbi Yochanan. Why? Because it says one of the prophecies about when Mashiach is going to come, it says "Va'oilech eschem koimimios." This is in Bechakaise, I think, that I'm going to stand. You're going to stand koimimios. Koimimios is 2 times high. Koimos is high. The mayor says, what does it mean? Messiah Mama. That when Mashiach comes, we're going to be 200 arm lengths tall. 2 times the height of first man. First man was first created very tall, and then he was humbled and down to 100 amos, which is still way taller than anyone today, right? Today a person is an amma is 1.5 feet, so 100 amos is 150 feet. No one's 150 feet tall. But still, when Mashiach comes, Rameir says we're going to be double the height of Adam, first man. And Rabbi Yehuda says it's going to be Mea Amma. We're going to be only the same height as first man. And what is the significance of 100 Amma? Keneged Heichel the Kaislav, to the length of the Heichel of the Beis Hamikdash and its walls. Now, I had another computer picture to show how the walls worked out exactly, but if you count, there's also, if you bring up a picture later on your own, of the Beis Hamikdash, talking about the first temple. So if you count from the ulam and the walls of the ulam and the back walls of the Beis Hamikdash, you have 100 amas. So a person is going to be the length of the 100 amas. Why are we asking these questions? The question is basically, if according to Rabbi according to Rabbi Yochanan, the gates of Jerusalem are going to be 20 amas tall, how is someone 100 amas or 200 amas going to go through a door that's only 10% or 20% of their height? Obviously, it's going to be too short. So he says, how do we know that we're going to be the length of the sanctuary of the temple? So he says, for our sons are as plants grown up in their youth, our daughters as cornerstones carved in the fashion of the palace. It means that we're going to be the size of the palace, indicating that the sons and daughters will be 100 cubits tall, which is the length of the Beis Hamikdash. Again, according to Rashi, we'll see in a second, it seems like Rashi's cheshbon is a little funny. That's why I wanted to bring up the picture. But let's see what Rashi says. So Reb Meir says koimemios. The word koimemios, it should be koima. Koimemios is plural. Shtei koima shel adam rishon. That we're going to be the height of 2 times the height of first man. Like it says in Gemorah Chagiga, Shemiut HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'amidu amei amma. What does it mean? That first man was really much taller. His head was all the way in the sky, by the sun, and God made him smaller. Shemiutu, he made him smaller. V'amidu, and he made him the height of only 100 arm lengths. Shnemar v'tashas alai kapecha kaf b'gematria hachihava. So we say the word kaf is that chaf is 20 and pei is 80. So chaf and pei together make 100. He was made down to 100 arm lengths. Keneged the heichel v'kaislav. So Rabbi Yehuda says no. First man is not going to. When Mashiach comes, we're not going to be kaimemios 2 times the length of first man, but we're going to be the lengths of the sanctuary. So he brings down but malachim that how do we have the measure? How do we make it 100? How do we come up to the conclusion of 100 amas? So he says, the tabernacle that the Beis Hamikdash that Shlomo built was 60 arm lengths, orkoi, long. The Kaisel Mizrach Sheish amas. If you count the eastern wall, you have 6 arm lengths. That's 66. The Kaisel Marv in the west, Sheish amas is another 6. Va'ama achas Tarkisin. The Tarkisin was in between the Kodesh and the Heichal. So that the Kodesh Kodashim and the Kodesh, and that's another foot arm length. That's how Yud Gimel Amos. So Yud Gimel and Shishim is 73. The Ulam Eser is 83. The Ulam is before the holy is another 10. So we have 63, 73, 83. Sorry. Ulam Eser Amar Reichav. The Kaisel HaUlam Sheish Harichav Tes. So you have 13 plus 10 is 23. And then you have another 6 is 29. Machre ulam ta echad. There was another kind of space, a room, which was sheish amas. V'kois lehei, so it's another 11. So 29 and 11 is 40. Harimem v'samach amach al erech habayis. And then we have the 60 that we said the heichel itself is meya. The only thing I had a problem with this calculation was he says V'ulam eser amar roichav, that the ulam was at its width 10 amas, and we're talking about the length. So again, the ulam, if you see the picture, the ulam went wider than the entrance of the heichal. The ulam kind of went out, and the heichal was more narrow. The ulam was more wide. I think that was the cheshbon. So maybe you flip it around. But either way, you have 100 amas. I'm not sure why it was so complicated. It's 100 amas of the Beis Hamikdash, and that's the length of what we're going to be when Mashiach comes. So what's the question? So Rashi brings the question. If we're going Harei Meya, so we're going to be 100 arm lengths long. The question is, how are we going to bend down even at 100 amas, never mind 200 amas, and bend into an entrance that's only 20 arm lengths tall? So he says, our sons are going to be like tall trees. Okay, either it's going to be that the calculation of Shlomo's temple, which he made the calculation how it's 100 amah, or we're talking about the heichel of the second Beis Hamikdash that was 60 by 100. So you could do 100. So you have the 100 on the orach. So you have 100 arm lengths, so depending if you can go according to the first temple or the second temple. Okay, let's just see what Marshas, what the Rabbi Steinsaltz quotes over here. So the Maharal, he explains that the statement should be understood as an illusion, and that the dispute is with regard to the spiritual essence of people. It means if we're going to be 100 feet or 200, 100 amma, 200 amma is is a spiritual kind of space, not a physical space, at the end of days. Some say that twice the height alludes to the fact that they will achieve completion in body and soul. Others, that means the body is 100 and the soul is 100. Others say that they will be 100 cubits, the height of Adam, the first man, meaning that they will be complete in soul only. Means if we only have the soul, then it's 100. If we have the soul and body, it's 200. Okay, that's the argument they explain between Rabbi Meir. The Maral says it's not going to be literal. But either way, there's a question. If that's not literal, maybe then maybe also the gates of Jerusalem are not literal. Then the question is, why are we laughing at this? Why did the student get punished? So either way, so the Gemara answers the question. When Rabbi Yochanan said the opening would be 20 cubits high, he's referring to the windows, that the windows will be 20, but the doors will be much greater. Still doesn't answer the question about if he says the stones will only be 30 cubits tall, unless there's going to be no top of the opening, meaning you could just cut them straight through, and there would be like open gates. So he says the he says that the windows will be 20 arm lengths for the sun to come in, but the gates will be much greater. So either you pile up the stones on top of each other, or the stones are not going to be, with the gates are not going to be with, so to say, with coverings. Now, now the Gemara goes back to what Rav Meir, Rav Zera, and the others were saying about the verse that says that a nachal, a mayan, a spring is going to come out of the Holy of Holies, and it's going to give forth to a nachal. Nachal is like a brook that's going to have trees on either side for good tasting fruit, and leaves for a trufa. So now the Gemara is trying to say, what does it mean? Va'alehu, the leaves are going to be litrufa. What does that mean? My va'alehu litrufa. What does it mean that the leaves are going to be for a trufa? So Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avedumi v'Rav Chizda Chad Amar, one says, lahatir per shamayla, v'Chad Amar lahatir per shamata. One is going to be that it's going to help those who are mute, who can't speak. That's the Pesha Maila. And the other says Pesha Mata, for those women who can't have children, is going to unlock that they should be able to bear children. So it's going to be a fertility kind of medicine. Others says it's going to be help in speech, that those who challenge in speech are going to have. Now you could take that as literal, you could take that as a metaphor for spiritual. But either way, it's going to affect speech and other things that are locked up, so that there's speech or the ability to have children. He says, Rashi says, says that they should be able to speak. If the women are going to eat, a barren woman is going to eat from these leaves, she's going to be fertile, and she's going to be able to have children. And he says, he brings a support to this that says, we learned, Chizkiah said, Lahati Peshel Ilmin, that it's going to unlock those who are mute. Bar Kapara Amar Lahati Peshel Kores. Also, it's going to unlock the women from being barren. Rabbi Yochanan Amar the Trufa Mamish. Rabbi Yochanan says it's going to be used as actual medicine, meaning to survive the trufa. So he says, hold on. It's going to give good tar panim. It's going to give a good radiance of those who are bali peh, those who have the mouth, meaning the Talmid Chachamim. That's going to be a Talmid Chacham. It's going to give off a good vibe for the Talmid Chacham on their appearance. Yes, Aaron.
Does this mean a deaf mute, one who doesn't hear and can't speak, or just someone who can't speak?
It doesn't mention anything about deaf, so I would have to assume it's only talking about a mute.
I mean, there are people who are deaf who can't speak because they can't hear. And my question is, and why doesn't it bring up the blind or the deaf?
You're asking a good question, but there's that question that you could continue and continue and continue. I mean, that's the question is, what is it a trufa for? He's saying the word if you actually, the reason why they're talking about something connected to the mouth, if you go back and look at the word trufa, you break it up into two words. It's teru peh. So in the word trufa is peh, mouth. So it's talking about something connected to the mouth. And the word teru also could be from the word lahatir. So it's, if you take it litrufa, it's like lahatir peh, to open up the mouth. So therefore, it's something that they see within it, something connected to the mouth. Now, if it's going to affect, if you're saying it's talking about a mute who's affected by hearing, that's possible also. But in general, in Torah, Elam is a person who can't speak. But so the reason why they're connecting it to the mouth and not to other things is in the word trufa, we have the word peh, mouth. So therefore, they're trying to figure out what's it talking about. It's either the upper mouth or what they call the lower mouth, which is for a woman's womb, that she should be able to have children. Rabbi Yochanan says the trufa mamish. It means for medicine. And he also says, what's trufa? Trufa means from the word toar panim. Peh is also for panim, for the people of Baal Peh, the people who to learn Torah. It's going to affect their appearance. He says, Chizkiah says, V'hainu hach d'li'il trufa. Okay. Darshab, let's just go a little further on this topic. Darshab Yehuda bar Simon. Rabbi Yehuda bar Simon learned as follows. Kol ha'mashcher panav al divrei Torah. Person darkens their face from studying of Torah. Darkening the face can mean many things, but darkening the face usually is referring to a person who has not eaten because of hunger. In Olam Hazeh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mavhik zivav l'olam haba. So this is a continuation of Rabbi Yochanan says that trufa is the Torah panim of a person who studies Torah, of Bali Peh. So he says, so kol ha'mashcher, whoever's face is darkened from divrei Torah, from studying Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mavik zivav l'olam haba. He's going to have a nice, beautiful ray in the world to come. As it says, Mareu halvonon bacher ka'arazim. It says like Lebanon is like Lebanon, excellent as the cedars. Erez is a tall tree. Follows this, his palate is like sweet. One who engages in sweets, which is Torah study. So in this world, until he is black and black as in a raven, which is also part of the pasuk before, is privileged of shining brightness in the world to come. So if you're going to be Shenemer Mareo Kalvan and Bach Karazim, that he starts off having black, like a raven, dark black, from studying of Torah, from toiling of Torah, is going to have a nice radiance of Torah upon him in the world to come. So he says, Mar panim kulvanim v'chsiv li'ilmei. He says before, Shcheiris ka'orev, he's going to be dark like a raven. V'samach le'chakum amtakim, he's going to have be sweetened by the sweetness of Torah. So Amr Rab Tancha said, Rab Chaniloi, in the name of Rabbi Chaniloi, a person who starves himself for him or herself in the words of Torah, by in this world, God's going to satisfy you, let him on the world to come. As it's posted the pasuk, it says, Yirvim mideshen beisecha v'nachal adenecha tashkem. Says there's abundantly satisfied with the plenty of your house, and you feed them drink in the river of pleasures. So Yirvim mideshen beisecha. The word deshen also is like, trumas deshen. Deshen is like ash. So Yirvim mideshen beisecha, if you're going to be hungry, so to say, deshen in your house, v'nachal adenecha tashkem, you're going to get the rivers of pleasure in the world to come. So again, an idea that a person who toils in Torah in this world is going to have reward in the world to come. So Rashi quotes, Yivrim Midash Beisecha, Amarli Rabbi Deliil Minei Mahaikra, Mairu Inyana, the Mairu Vizatzme, talking about a person who hungers oneself in Torah. God is going to give you satisfaction in the world to come. Let's just see what Rabbi Steinsaltz notes. He says, right, we'll finish here after this comment from Rabbi Yochanan. It says, see Rashi and Mashal who explain the source of this interpretation. Virtually everyone agrees that reference to the previous verse, especially, your righteousness is like mighty mountains, your judgments like the great deep. Says, which the sages explain to be a reference to the height of wealth and depth of poverty that exists in the world. I mean, some people are very wealthy and some people are very poor. By contrast, the Ramah explains that the second verse, unrelated to its context, the verse, they are abundantly satisfied with plenty, deshen, of your house can also explain as expression of poverty, because deshin can also mean ashes. Like I said, trumas deshin. In other words, people who exist today in hunger from Torah and deprivation is metaphorically gaining sustenance from ashes, will ultimately arrive at a state which is which in the verse, you feed them, drink of the river of your pleasures, is fulfilled. When basically when Mashiach comes, you're going to have, in the world to come, they're going to have great reward. So again, what we see as a negative in this world initially is going to end up being a reward in the world to come for those who study Torah. Okay, the Gemara is going to continue. I'm sorry about this connection. I can't. Also, the print here is much smaller from my laptop. Mirza Hashem fixed the problem. I'm not sure what it was with the internet. The Gemara continues on this line with the famous Gemara about a person who studies Torah is rewarded with Shai Oilmas with 610 worlds. And we're going to learn about all the great rewards of Torah and how a person behaves in this world with regard to Torah. In the world to come is going to be blessed with abundance. So don't look at things as they are. Like the famous, to just finish off the famous story of the Maggid who was rich. Someone said the great Maggid lived in such poverty. He says, yes, the great Maggid, he says, when a person travels, like on business, right? So you don't take your whole house with you. You could have a huge house, but you travel on business, you're in a 30-meter room in a hotel, with minimal availabilities. You have, just your room and your shower, etc. So he says, this world is like I'm traveling. I'm on the road. I'm on a business trip. But the world to come, that's going to be Mirza Hashem, the great reward. Okay, everyone. Again, sorry for the problems with the connection. As Hashem, we won't have that next week. Laila Tov, thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.